This video is about how to execute a holding clearance. Let's assume that ATC has just cleared us to Onder to hold north, inbound 190, 5,000 feet, and anticipate further clearance 1500 Zulu, and call entering the hold. So right away we have to get Onder up. So we'll go direct to FSMS small knob to the left, and we've used it recently, so we'll go to recent, and there it is. Onder, enter, and activate. And right away we'll select nav. Now you can see how the GPS doesn't give you present position direct. It gives you an offset so that your turn, you have an allowance for your turn, and you can just roll out on course. Now it's crucial in understanding your clearance that you differentiate between a holding radial and a holding course. Typically a VOR will be expressed in hold on a given radial, but an NDB hold or a waypoint hold is more often given as hold a particular course inbound to the fix. So if you're told to hold on a radial, let's say it's the 010 radial, then your inbound course is 190. And if you're told to hold inbound 190, then you're holding on the 010 radial. Now in our example, we were told to hold north, inbound 190, so that means we're holding on what is the 010 radial, which is pretty close to north. So that's your check that you've got the orientation correct. So now we're 18 miles away, and we need to do a couple of things. First of all, we want to be able to use our GPS on the CDI, and right now it's being used to navigate us direct to Onder. We do have this 15 knot wind. It's almost a headwind at the moment. So what we want to do is get the heading bug top dead center. So we press the heading button and now select heading mode, and that may or may not take us directly to Onder, particularly if we had some sort of crosswind or more of a crosswind. It might not take us there. So we take a look at the bearing to our point, and we take a look at the track that we're flying. So it's 1 degree different. We want the track to read the same as the bearing. So all you have to do is just click the heading, the 1 degree, and now that should make our track 031, bearing is 031. By definition, we are going direct to Onder, and so we can just leave that for a bit. If the wind changes, that situation may change, so we can't leave it forever, but for a few minutes anyway, we can concentrate on other things. So now we want to use the GPS in the OBS mode, and selecting OBS stops the navigation from proceeding. So if Onder was just another point in the flight plan, once we get to Onder, the flight plan will not sequence to the next waypoint. It will stay fixed on Onder. Now we want to set in the course that we were given. So the course is 190, so it's the small knob here, and we'll turn it clockwise. Okay, so now we'll just change the range so that we can see Onder, and there it is. Here's us. We're proceeding to Onder, and here is our holding radial. And the hold, being a standard hold, right hand, is right there. So it's simple. You just press into under, you turn left, parallel outbound, left turn, come back in and home the waypoint. So that's a parallel entry. If the course that you put in was over here somewhere, say there, then it's obvious. It's an offset. You come in, you go out 30 degrees to the left, and then right-hand turn back to home in on under. And if it was this, if the white line here were your holding radial, then it's obviously a direct entry. You go in, hit under, right turn, 180 degrees, you're in the hold. So in a very short period of time, you have the visual presentation that tells you everything you need to know. So what's going to happen at under? We're going to have to start the clock, so we get the timer reference up, it's zeroed out, ready to go. We were asked to call entering, so we will call entering, and we'll turn to 010 and proceed outbound. So we can't set that heading now because we're in heading mode proceeding to under, but once we get overhead, it's a simple matter to turn the airplane to the left and go out a minute. Now you think about, what are you going to do with the wind situation? And the wind right now is pretty much a headwind. And once we turn outbound, it's going to be a little more from, say, the 1 to 2 o'clock position. Those red X's were a little hemorrhage that the trainer does from time to time, but it looks like it's recovered itself. So, but anyway, back to the wind. When we're going outbound, we're going to have a bit of a wind blowing us to the left. And so we don't want to track 010. We want to track a little bit outbound, outside of that. If we were to track 010 and the wind were quite strong from the 3 o'clock position, for instance, we would be blown, maybe even blown across the holding radial and over onto this side, in which case our turn would take us quite wide here. So by selecting a track outbound here that is a few degrees to the right into the wind, what we will do is position ourselves a little further out from the holding radial than the zero wind condition. And then when we start our turn, we won't get blown way over here. We'll be more in line with where we would be in a zero wind condition. So we'll be looking for a track, maybe, I don't know, 003, correction, 013, 014, 015, somewhere in that area. Because as I said, the wind looks like it will be something in the order of 2 o'clock when we're going outbound. And approaching the hold, you don't want to be burning gas for nothing in the hold. So we're at our cruise speed now. So we'd probably, within 2 or 3 miles, we'll slide the throttles back and acquire a holding speed. 110 to 120 would be reasonable. And we'll change the range too. Get a little better SA out of it. You can tell by the whip that it looks like we're pretty much going straight at under. Track 2 that we're making good is 031. Bearing is 032. So we'll just take another degree to the right. Did that make a difference? It looks like we can do another degree. This track is printed up here, but you can also see a magenta diamond in behind all of this, and it only becomes visible when you got a really strong crosswind, and then you'll see a portion of it out one side or the other. all set to start the timer. Point 1, 0. We're on top of the fix, and now we start our turn to make it 014, and Toronto Centre, Romeo Alpha Delta, entering the hold 5,000. You might also change the duration. Right now we're just going for a minute. But if it were a very strong headwind, then you might go a little further, just so that your turn back to home, the fix, isn't jammed up really tight. See, our wind appears to be about 1:30 to 2 o'clock. And beware of forgetting about the timing. It's way too easy to forget the timing. Okay, so we'll start our turn back to the left. And all we want to do is home the beacon. So right now the bearing is 196, so I'm going to turn to at least 196, and maybe a little further. We don't need the timer anymore, so we can reset it. And you can see the bearing is way over 17 something or other, so we got to get more turn on. And I was late slowing down, but I can do that now. So bearing is 158. Right now our track is 163, so we better get over to whoops. All right, we want 155. The actual track is 163. And you can also help yourself out by just looking at the whip, and it looks like we're going to cross overhead pretty close. The bearing pointer through the wingtip is indicative of station passage. There's another small hemorrhage. And so now we go into a right hand 180. And nominally we'd come out at 010, but we're going to have a wind correction. So I'll set 010 for the moment. I'll decrease the range so we get a better look at our situation. And you can see, because the wind is pushing us that way, we're going to be rolled out on heading, and we still won't be a beam onder, which is the time that the timer should be started. Which means the bearing pointer is going to be out in front of the wingtip. So we won't be punching the clock until such time as the bearing pointer is pointed at the wingtip. All right, now the wind is pushing us away from the track, so we don't want to track 010, we want to track maybe 015. And right now we're tracking 006, so we're going to need some turn. I'll try that and see what track it gives us. Bearing pointer is coming to the wing tip, but it's not quite there. Okay, now we're tracking 011. Start the timer now. 011. And here's the magenta diamond I was telling you about. And so it's on 012, right where our track is. And so that's taking us a little closer to the holding radial than we would be at if we were in a zero wind condition, which is good because during the time that we're turning there, this wind is trying to blow us away. So if we start from a position closer, we're better off. Now we're also going to have a tailwind component. So we're going to want a longer than zero wind condition for this portion here. So we're going to go further than a minute. We'll go about a minute and 20 seconds. That'll take us out further, and then when we're on this track coming inbound to the fix, we should have enough distance to equate to 1 minute of travel. And that number is just a wild ass guess. And what the examiner is looking for is the logic in a candidate on a flight test. He's looking for the correct logic, and as long as you're close, that's fine. This is not a precision exercise. Precision will come when you get familiar with your aircraft. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and start the turn back. That 1, 2, 3 was me starting the timer because we want to see 2 minutes elapse between starting the turn and arriving at the fix. And the beauty of this is that we can set up this heading and then select nav, and as we get close to the holding radial, the GPS will pick it up and track it for us. Ooh. Oh no. Oh. Okay, so just around 1 minute, we were rolled out on track inbound. And we're 57 seconds away from our point, so we're pretty darn close to being precisely on the requirement of 1 minute inbound. Again, you can see that magenta diamond. It's lined up perfectly with the bearing pointer. Therefore, we are going directly to Onder. Well, that was lucky. Pretty reasonable. It's going to be about 10 seconds out. 9 seconds out. Okay, so the crucial issue in the beginning is to understand, did you get cleared to a radial or did you get cleared with the holding course? Which one was it? And then that will determine where your holding radial is, and from that point on it becomes very simple. Reading the wind will take some time, but as you gain experience, it will be a little more obvious.